amis! Today we're going to have a look at Le Petit Prince by Montblanc, and there will be two videos. One covers two 145s and one covers two 146 models by Montblanc. This is the video where I talk about the two 145s. Okay, the pens were lent to me by Appelboom in the Netherlands, so a kind thank you to Joost. Today we'll look at the 145 models, and we have two. We have I kind of like that one a lot. A nice simple model made of resin. So this is the Le Petit Prince Classique Platinum Trim 145. Classique and 145 is the same thing, just like 146 and Le Grand is the same thing. I'm still awaiting some sort of name for the 149, but let's not get into that. And then there is the Le Petit Prince Doué Classique Platinum Trim 145, which is this one, very attractive, metal, and this is precious resin. Okay, I'm going to cover the parts of the pens. I tell you what I like about it, what I don't like about it, but before I do that, I'll do a writing sample. Let's get started. Okay, so let's first look at the boxes. The Le Petit Prince Classique Platinum Trim 145 comes in this box. I've already opened it, but here's the little prince with the little fox and the universe around it. This dark blue is also why they selected the dark blue for this pen. It's supposed to represent that universe. So there is that. Inside this is a couple of things. There is the actual box. Pen sits comfortably in that, right? And there is a little booklet on sort of like the history of the Petit Prince and all that stuff. The Saint-Exupéry who wrote it, all that kind of stuff. And then there is the regular service guide, which has everything in it that you might expect, how to ink up the pen, etc. So that is the Classique Platinum Trim 145. Then there is the Doué Classique Platinum 145, which is metal as opposed to all precious resin. Sorry. I really like this one. Very pretty dark blue metallic, almost sheen I would say this pen has. Very, very nice. And this pen comes in a bigger box, which has pretty much the same features, same picture, but it's a wider box. So it has that. It has the same service guide with all the instructions. It has a slightly larger booklet on Le Petit Prince, but same stuff. And then it has the larger actual box, which looks like this. Holds the pen securely, etc. Okay, let's start with this one. Try to put this out of the way so you have a nice clear view. Now you can't stop seeing that, aren't you? Yeah, okay. There we go. Okay, so the Le Petit Prince Classique Platinum Trim 145. Let's start at the very top. There is of course the Montblanc finial that we know, and then here on that finial there are two lines of text. It says "Créer des liens, tu seras pour moi unique au monde." Right. So a quote from the book, The Little Prince. To establish ties, to me you will be unique in all the world. How lovely. Right there, let me see if I can zoom in a bit. Right there you will also see some of the stars, the same stars that were on that I've shown you on the box, the illustration on the box. The clip, there's one more of those stars right there, and then on the cap are the little foxes in an engraving. Very hard to make the camera pick that up, so I'll show you in the metal version, the Doué. You can see them much more clearly here, but it's the same thing on this cap, same shape, and I think pretty much same size too, but just so you know. Center band, Meisterstück, Montblanc. Then we have the barrel. These are not piston-filled pens, these are actually cartridge converters, I'll show you in a second. So this is not a piston turning knob. The cap unscrews, then you have the cute little nib. Let me zoom in a bit on that. On there are, right there, Le Petit Prince and his little fox friend. These are, these are nice nibs. I found them very pleasant. 14K nib on this one, available in extra fine through double broad, oblique, medium and oblique broad, which is a very impressive range these days. So really quite nice. Definitely a smaller pen. I'll show it to you right next to 146 in just a second. But it is the 145. It can be posted if you want to. And it has a converter that says use Montblanc ink only. So that's this pen at the end there. There's nothing, some cute features, and I like that nib with the Petit Prince on it. Okay, so write that is a 146, this is the 145, and this is the 149, which is mainly girthy. And just for the comparison's sake, here is that Doué. Alright, so we have these things. Now let's look at that Doué in a little bit more detail. Of course, the Montblanc right on top, it has the same quote in French on the cap there, it has the same stars, and then the fox again also has the little star on the clip. These clips are pretty nice, by the way. I found them exactly the right tightness. Here it says Montblanc Meisterstück on the center band, and then you have this metal barrel and this end cap, and again this is a cartridge converter filled pen. This pen is definitely heavier than the resin version is. You really feel that, and posted it becomes definitely a bit top heavy. Okay, metal section. Metal sections, especially this polish, can always get a little slippery. I've not really had issues with this pen, but that is a known thing. Cartridge converter as well, again with the warning, use Montblanc ink only. So there is that. And then you have the nib, and I like this nib even more than the other one. And it's a little hard to show you, but it again has the Petit Prince and the fox on it, but in gold. So this is actually a two-tone nib, which I think is really nice. These nibs are 18 karat. So on the regular 145 it's 14, and these are 18 karat, and also available extra fine through double broad, oblique medium and oblique broad. Metal barrel, blue lacquer. And I think what we need to do is see how this pen writes, or how these pens write. So as always, bear with me because I'm reaching through a tripod. But here we have the Montblanc. This is the Meisterstück Le Petit Prince Classique Platinum Trim 145 Le Petit Prince. The ink is in both pens Montblanc Royal Blue. I always think, beware, the camera microphone picks up this kind of noise a lot. It's not a scratchy nib. I actually find it very comfortable. It does offer some feedback, so if you're looking for a sort of a glassy, smooth writing experience, this may not be it. But I do find it very pleasant, a very pleasant feedback. Minor skipping on this test here. Nice, well-tuned nib. There is not a whole lot of line variation going on, and of course we're always very careful when we do that. But don't expect anything in the range of semi-flex nibs, nor is it advertised as such, but people always ask. Then there is the reverse writing. A little scratchier. The nib tends to dig a bit more into the paper, and I think it will run dry. But you can probably write a couple of words and take it from a fine to a good extra fine. Alright, close your ears. Then, the other one. This has a wonderful nib. I really like this one. This is the Doué Classique Platinum Trim 145. And of course it is the Le Petit Prince model. Also a fine nib, but in this case the 18K, and again the Montblanc Royal Blue. I prefer this nib to the 18K nib, which is interesting because I I often have a thing for 14K nibs, but that was me. This was not a skip. The thing is, this is a smaller pen, and for me it is a little on the small side, so I have to make sure I orient that properly to the paper. Quick, lazy, brown fox jumps over the little prince. Oh, missed opportunity, I didn't do that before. Oh well. Minimal skipping again, nice tuning. Again, a pretty rigid nib. And this one gets very fine and dry when you turn it upside down. So I wouldn't really do that. Or, I mean, buy it expecting you can write upside down with it. Okay, that's that. Let's look at what I like about them, what I don't like about them. Okay, what do I like about these two pens? What do I not like about the pens? I'm going to call this the 145 and this one the Doué, just to distinguish between the two. As with many of the Montblanc special editions, there is a lot of eye for detail. I mean, the pilot will always hear the prince's laugh when he looks at the stars. The star is there. The fox that symbolizes friendship is there. The night blue sky is there. I mean, those details are nice. The little motto on the finial I appreciate. I mean, if you are a fan of the book, there is a lot in these pens for you to enjoy, and I think that's great. Both pens had very pleasant nibs, very nice fine nibs, which I found to work perfectly well out of the box, which is a breath of fresh air. I mean, I'm not talking about Montblanc, I mean, in general, I've had a lot of high-end pens recently that actually had quite a couple of issues. Both of these nibs wrote perfectly well. Now, same goes for the two Le Petit Prince 146 Montblancs that I tried out as well. So that's really great, and I really do enjoy that. On the Doué, and that's something I particularly wanted to point out, on the Doué, the nib is gorgeous. I mean, the two-tone nib with the prince and the fox in gold, I think really stands out, and it really makes the details pop. I think that was a brilliant decision, and it works very, very well as far as I'm concerned. So I like all of that. Having said that, there's a couple of things I don't like so much either. One thing is that these pens are expensive. So with Dutch VAT of 21% included, the 145 is 635 euros and the Doué is 1005 euros. So you're talking about expensive pens, right? That is definitely an issue, I think. I'm not saying they're not worth it, I'm just saying they are expensive pens. But they are Montblancs and they are special editions, and then you know when those two things go together that typically you are looking at a very expensive pen. So there is that. Relatively speaking, it could be a lot worse as far as pens go, but let's be fair, they're too expensive pens. They are too expensive pens. I don't mean they are too expensive. They're too expensive pens. At this price, I don't know if cartridge converters really should be a thing. I know they are. I know there are even more expensive cartridge converters. But, you know, I would have liked to see a piston-filled pen. But of course, it is a 145. And the whole point of the 145 is that it is a cartridge converter-filled pen, which has specific advantages, like being on the road. Cartridges are quite simply very, very convenient, much more so than carrying a bottle of ink. So I understand that. Final thing I wanted to say was, for me personally, the models are on the small side, and especially the 145, the resin version, that is definitely small and very, very light. It feels very light. You barely feel any weight, so it's like you're not even holding a pen. Having said that, that's part of the model, right? That's the 145. If you don't like the 145 because it's too small, then get the 146, which is definitely bigger, and there is always that option. And the same thing for the Doué and the Solitaire, which are a bit more different, but you can of course do that. So it's not really fair criticism to say they're too small, because that's part of the model. The model is smaller than the 146 and definitely smaller than the 149. Having said all that, I think what we should do is do the bottom line. The bottom line is, here you have two pens that are really geared towards collectors, fans of the Petit Prince, have some really nice detail on them, but they are expensive. And that's it. So, a very kind thank you to Joost Appelboom for lending me the pens. I really appreciate it. Guys, I hope this was useful, and I'll gladly see you later. Bye bye.
Bye.